Ois Dalet. So the Rebbe was explaining the posik Poda B'Sholem Nafshi, and he explained that even in a situation where a person still has to wage war because his godly soul, his nefesh elikis, is not open. It's Poda, it's mikrobli. There is a war there. And yet he too is able to reach the level of Poda B'Sholem, which means through a level of Yechida, thinking about Yechida and deciding that you're going to live by the Yechida, so then you can redeem your soul in a way of Sholem, which is instead of waging war with the Nefesh Bahamis, in a way that you illuminate the Nefesh Elikis, overpowers and brings redemption to the Nefesh Bahamis as well. Dalet. Yehuvon ze behagdim mashekosu beparashosenu. So we will understand this in that which is written in our parsha. This is in the parshas Vayetze. So this is by the dream of Yaakov. It says that he made a prayer. He prayed to Hashem after he had his dream. So he prayed to Hashem and he said, Vishavti b'sholom el beis avi, and I will return peacefully to my father's home. He's on his way to Choron. And he prays that if he returns to Choron, to his father's home from Choron in peace, and then he promises, he'll offer karbonos as the pasuk goes on. So the Vayir Bal HaGeula, so the Mittel Rebbe, whose day of redemption is on Yud Kislev, when the Maimer was said, he explains the Halichas Yaakov Lechoron, that the purpose of Yaakov going to Choron that was in order to sort out the sparks that were in Choron. And this is what the pasuk says. V'shavti b'sholem el beis avi. What he's talking about, I will return about himself, but I will bring back peacefully to my father's home, which means he'll bring home all those sparks that he went out to capture, to bring back. Shabirur hanitzoitzes v'hashavosam, the sorting out of the sparks and bringing them back, hachazerosam, v'shafti ashva, return, bring them back, l'shorsham, to bring them back to the root al beis avi, v'shafti b'sholem al beis avi, to bring it back, then the sparks to the beis avi, to their source, yiyeh ba'ofen the sholem, that should be in a way of shalom. That was the prayer, the inner meaning of Shafti B'Sholem, to bring the sparks that he's supposed to bring back from Choron back to their source in their proper place. And the Maimer, he adds that it says V'Shafti B'Sholem, the Pirush B'Sholem, when you say B'Sholem, doesn't just mean in peace, but who beis sholem. That is two levels of peace. So also these sparks, they can be brought back, and there's two ways. It's a beis sholem, two peaceful ways that can bring back and return. Sholem milmailo lemato, v'sholem milmato lemailo. The two levels, peace from above to below, which earlier and later the Rebbe explained that means in a way that there is a revelation of the Nefesh Elikis, or in a way there's a revelation of above, and therefore the Mata is no longer opposing. That's one level of Shalom. And V'Sholem Milmata L'Mailo, that is through the lower level, the dressing up within the Dvarim Gashmin, within the Nefesh HaBahamis level. We'll see, the Rebbe will explain more as we go on. But we have two ways that we bring back these sparks. It's Beis Sholem. Sholem Milmailo Lemata, a Sholem that goes from above to below. The Sholem Milmata Lemailo, and also peace from below to above. So just like the Metal Rebbe teaches the word in our parsha of Bisholim, meaning Beis Sholem, the Rebbe wants to say the same thing is Poda Bisholim Nafshi. Also Beis Sholem. Shloim are al derech zeh, so we can say similar to this, B'negeya l'tevas Bisholim shebeposik Poda Bisholim Nafshi. We can also say similarly to the word of Bisholim in the posik Poda Bisholim Nafshi, which means the Bisholim who Beis Sholem. When we say Bisholim, Poda Bisholim is Beis Sholem, which is both Milmailo Lemato or Milmato Lemailo, from below to above, and from above to below, and from below to above. And also, this is also associated, we can tie this, also connect this. Yesh lekashers. We can also tie this in Maposik with a verse that says, V'chol benayich lemudei havaya, v'rav sholem banoich. So all banoich are no Hashem, but Rav Sholem. Again, the Pasuk uses here lots of peace is banoich, your children, your builders. But again, there's idea of Rav Sholem. Yesh loimar. We can say she'inyan the ribuy sholem. What does it mean? A multiple sholem, or lots of sholem. V'rav sholem ein ribuy pachos mishnayim. When we say lots, it means at least two. So we can say that in this pasuk is also ubeis v'chinas the sholem, the two levels of sholem. Sholem milmailo lemato. V'sholem milmata lemailo, peace from above to below and from below to above. So the Rebbe explains. So we need to say now. He just teaches the word of Bisholim, that Beis Sholem, that B'Shavti Bisholim means two Sholims. But the Rebbe said that must be associated with the interpretation that B'Shavti Bisholim means to bring back the sparks. It seems we should need to say Shakavon Eba HaMaimer. What the Maimer means, what the Maimer says, that it's two levels of Sholem, that is also applies to the idea of returning the sparks, that there is two ways to return the sparks. The Beis Sholem also returning the sparks. That the this idea that we're saying V'Shavti Hashavas HaNetzutzos L'Shersham, in which we return the sparks to their roots. So we have Birur B'derech Milmailo Lemata. We have the sorting out as it takes place from above to below. Birur B'derech Milmata Lemailo, and also sorting out from below to above. That's the two Sholem. So, so this seems to be a conflict, because B'Sholem, that you also, the whole idea we say that Poda B'Sholem is that it comes Milmailo. That's why it's B'Sholem. That it's not just a regular Pediyah, but through, as he learned earlier, the revelation overpowering of the nefesh alikis, the presence and the light to shine of nefesh alikis, the nefesh abamis is in this battle. That seems to be milmayla lamata, and here we're saying that the Bisholim also has milmata lamayla. Sorry, lahavin. We have to understand it's explained in many places. And also in the above Maimer that starts with Pod B'Sholem that the Rebbe is quoting, the Baal Hageula of the Mittel Rebbe, that was brought down before in sections 1 and 2. The Ian HaSholem, what is the idea of Pod B'Sholem? So what is the idea of Sholem? That is when the sorting out comes in a way from above to below, which basically means birur shal yidei gilui oir, the sorting out that happens through the shining of the light, rather than battling with the nefesh habahamis. It's by shining the light of the nefesh alikis, so the nefesh habahamis is negated by itself. But so, but the birur that takes place from below to above is not called a sholem. Birur shebederech hislapshus, that's sorting out by dressing up. That is in a way of war. The pirush b'sholem who base sholem, but the fact that now we're saying that the base sholem means two sholem, sholem milmaylo lamata, b'sholem milmat lamaylo, to make this piece from above to below and from below to above, mashma. So from this it appears shagam habirur shemilmat lamaylo boy for the sholem. It's mashma that even this birur that takes place from below to above, which is the level of islapshus, that is also b'sholem. So how do we explain all this? And add to this the bezeshen nemar v'shafti b'sholem, beis sholem. The fact that we emphasize, we say that the shafti b'sholem means two levels of peace. Shetzorich liyeshneim, that you need them both. Mashma. So from there it appears shebechol echad mehem yesh yisroin, that in each one of them there is an advantage. That's why we're saying we need to return the base sholem. We need the sholem milmayla lamata, but we also need milmata lamayla, and in each one of them there is an advantage. Hey, Inyan who the idea is the besholem shenase al yidei habirur. Even when we talk about the sholem that is done through sorting out, when we do the sholem that is accomplished when you sort out, when you change around the nefesh habahamis, there's two ways. One shen is battle hamenagid, one that the opponent is negated. And that way that the opponent is negated, that's mainly through the sorting out that takes place from above to below. The nefesh alikis from above shines, illuminates, and the nefesh habahamis is bottled. So that it negates and basically is mevatel the opponent. The bahabirur b'derech milmat lamayla, because when we talk the other way, sorting out from below to above, which means shahamevarer mislabish b'hamizbarer, the one that is sorting out, the nefesh alikis, dresses up in the nefesh habahamis. Umisasik imay, and he occupies himself. He works with the the mizbarer, sheyirtze lehizbarer, that he should agree and want to be sorted out. He wants to change. I mean, he's working with the lower level. So it doesn't mean that the lower one who is being sorted out has been negated. Elo, but rather shehu mizbarer mitzad, but rather that he is sorted out mitzad ratzon shalai. He agrees to be mizbarer. So since it has the consent, so to speak, the nizbarer wishes to be nizbarer. So v'kivon shegam la'achrei shenizbarer, since even after he was nizbarer, who mitzias the tachten, he remains an entity of a tachten. The tachten ve'elyonim hopchim, because a tachten and an elyon are opposites. Lochein, therefore. So, notwithstanding the fact that he influenced, but the influence came through the agreement, through the consent. So he still remains in his level of tachten. Tachten and elyon, the lower and the upper, are opposites. Lochein gam la'achrei shenizbarer shayich sheyinagid lahelyon. That's why even after it was sorted out, it is possible that he should still oppose the upper one, because the upper one didn't change him from his existence. He's still there, but he has his consent. Having his consent means that he's still in charge. He's still the tachten, and therefore he is able to later on oppose the elyon. He gives the example how it interpreted in the service of man. And how does this translate in the service of man? Sha'abirur the nefesh habahamis al yidei sha'nefesh elikis mislabeshes benefesh habahamis. That sorting out of the nefesh habahamis, that we're mevader the animal soul, by through the means that the godly soul dresses up in the nefesh habahamis. Who? What does that mean? Sha'izbonenus, the nefesh ha'alikis siba'ifun, that this meditation and the reflection of the godly soul is in such a way, shegam nefesh habahamis tovin v'tasi eso inyan haliki, that also the animal soul will understand and grasp this godly idea. That means the nefesh halikis is working together with the nefesh habahamis, so that also the nefesh habahamis would understand this godly thing, in which he is reflecting. Through this, so also the nefesh habahamis will come to love Hashem. The fact, why does the nefesh habahamis love Hashem? When through the meditation, but the fact that the nefesh habahamis loves Hashem, hagam shebetivo hi nimsheches linyonim gashmim, even though naturally it is drawn to physical matter, that takes place. It's not that the existence of the nefesh habahamis has been negated, but on the contrary, it draws al yidei she'aseichel the nefesh habahamis. It's true that the intellect of the animal souls comes to the understanding Hashem, that you need to love Hashem. So the fact that you have the nefesh habahamis serving and loving Hashem is not because the nefesh habahamis is no longer entity and that it doesn't care, but on the contrary, you explained to the Nefesh HaBahamis that it also should understand why it needs to love Hashem. Since the fact that the Nefesh HaBahamis loves Hashem, including that he loves Hashem, also understands and grasps that you need to love Hashem. Humitzad haseichel the nefesh ha'elikis. That is because, it's because of the intellect, the idea of the godly soul. Shenislabish b'han neseichel the nefesh ha'bahamis, that dressed up in the seichel of the nefesh ha'bahamis. So also the nefesh ha'bahamis understand that. Avo nefesh ha'bahamis mitzad atzmo, but from its own, on its own, the animal soul, that is drawn to physical matters. Yes, the nefesh ha'bahamis tilts it, the nefesh ha'likis pushes it, explains it, so the nefesh ha'bahamis wants and loves Hashem, but the soul of the Bahamis, the nefesh ha'bahamis on itself, that is drawn to physical matters. And as explained in many places, that the sorting out of the animal soul that comes through reflection, that is in a way of bending, forcing. The nefesh halikis basically forces the nefesh habahamis to love and to do what it's supposed to do through being pushed over there. But on its own, it still wants gashmizik thing. Harigam achshov. So even now, since we're saying that the etzem, it's still a metzias that wants gashmizik thing. So even though through the push and the investment of the nefesh halikis and nefesh habahamis, the nefesh habahamis loves Hashem, but in essence also now that shegam nefesh habahamis yesh lavas Hashem, that the nefesh habahamis has loved Hashem, nishar behelem ha'hisnagdus shelo la nefesh halikis. There is still in a hidden way the opposition of the nefesh habahamis to the nefesh halikis. But this opposition does not come into actuality. In actuality, it loves Hashem, but you can't say that it changed itself. That still has its own entity, its own love, and its own interest in physical matters. But in order to accomplish a negation, a bittul of the opponent, that comes through the birur in a way from above to below. That through the revelation in the lower entity gets a light, a shine of light, which is not in comparison to the mata, in this case the nefesh habahamis, whom is battle mitziusay, then it negates of his mitzius, as the Rebbe teaches now in Avodah. And when we talk about the service of man, how is this manifest itself that the higher Gilui negates the existence of the lower? The nefesh halikis through the nefesh habahamis sensing, through the sensing of the nefesh habahamis, the love of nefesh halikis, which is beyond reason and around knowledge, the avazu He bederech klal, that level of love generally is an ava rabba shalamayla magbalas kli halev. That's a great intense love which is higher than the limitation of the vehicle of the heart. The heart can't contain that. It's not a meditation and a reflection that the nefesh habahamis can change around because it feels it, but this is a overpowering revelation that cannot be limited to the Klei Halev. Al Yidei Zem is batal hametzi is the nefesh habahamis. Through that, the existence of the nefesh habahamis is negated. And then it turns through this, it turns to the good, which is his hapcha shalamaylam iskafi. Then it's turn around, the level of his hapcha, turn around, which is a higher level from iskafi. Through the level of investing in it, dressing up, you create a level of iskafia. You're forcing it, but you haven't changed the nefesh habahamis. But when you create the level of revelation, the nefesh halikis reveals itself in a way of higher than reason and rationale. Then the nefesh habahamis is in this battle, and it turns to good is hapcha. So that's one difference between the way it is milmayla lamata milmata lamayla. V'oid from Besholem she nasal de'abiru. But then there's a higher level in this piece that becomes through the sorting out. Now we were talking about just to change around, so we should no longer be an opponent. But there's a higher level in which we're taking the opponent and making him into a friend. So the higher level of Sholem Shenaz Debir, Zeh Shahoya Mitchila Menagid Nasa Oyev, that the one that initially, in the beginning, he was an opponent, he becomes a friend. Nasa Oyev, he becomes a friend. Ubelashoin HaKosov, to use the language as in the Pasuk, it says Gam Oivav Yashlim Itoy. Also, his enemies make peace with him, and that means that not only don't they oppose anymore, but they make peace with him. They're with them. But and that way to have the enemy make peace will be ikir b'habirur b'derech milmata l'maylo. That is actually accomplished mainly sorting out by working milmata l'maylo. That's the advantage in milmata l'maylo, to turn the enemy into a friend. The b'habirur b'derech milmaylo l'mata. When you sort out in the way from above to below, the reason why the one that is lower no longer opposes, because he was negated from his existence. There was a great shine of light, so he no longer exists. But there was no change in the existence of the lower himself. He was just pushed aside because of that great revelation. Although that through this great revelation, the revelation of this great love, which is higher than reason and rationale, the animal soul turns to good is hapcha. So we say it did change around, but now it's saying that it turned to good. But is hapcha shelo. So the turnaround of the nefesh habahamis is loy mitzad in yonah the nefesh habahamis. It's not because the nefesh habahamis its own essence. It's of the matters of the nefesh habahamis. It's not. It is through the great love, the nefesh halikis of the godly soul, misbateles nefesh habahamis mimitziusa. So the nefesh habahamis is negated from existence. So in other words, the nefesh habahamis itself didn't really change as from the perspective of nefesh habahamis. It changed because the nefesh elikis overpowered it, so it's no longer in existence. But in of itself, nothing changes in nefesh habahamis. V'amitis ha'inyan, the gam oivav yashlim imoy. How is the true idea that you have the enemy making peace with you to change around? That is in the sorting out, which is from below to above, in order to achieve a change from milmat l'maylo. D'zeh nefesh habahamis yesh lo avas Hashem. In the case of milmat l'maylo, the nefesh habahamis has a love to Hashem. The nefesh habahamis. That's because of the seichel of the animal soul. That's why he loves Hashem. So we have the two levels as far as really accomplishing a bittul can only be accomplished through the higher level. But as far as changing the mato, that comes with mato l'maylo. Both. V'zeu v'shavti b'sholem, and this is what the pasuk said. He says, "Return b'sholem," and also v'chein when we say podo b'sholem, and we said that this means two sholems: sholem milmaylo lemato, sholem from above to below, v'sholem milmato lemaylo, and also peace from below to above. Shahabirur, the nefesh habahamis, the sorting out of the animal soul, which is podo b'sholem nafshi, the nafshi that is being redeemed, that is the sorting out of the nefesh habahamis sholem. And the same thing is v'chein birur hanitzutzus shebaylo, and also the sorting out of the sparks in the world. So basically, podo b'sholem nafshi, this pasuk, which we're talking the Maimer in Tehillim, that is talking about the birur of the animal soul. That's the human birur. Yaakov in the pasuk in Vayetze, he was talking v'chein birur hanitzutzus shebaylo. He was talking more about sorting out the sparks in the world, which is v'shavti b'sholem al beisabi. So in both of these, whether it's talking about being mevader your nefesh habahamis, or we're talking about the birur of the sparks in the world, tzorich liyes b'shnei ha'efanim, you have to have it in both ways. The derech milmaylo lemato, in a way from above to below, or b'derech milmato lemaylo, in a way from below to above. Then you have both matters, milos, both are the sholim of the sholim. That A, it's a complete change of the nefesh habahamis and the nitzutzos, and B, that it comes from them, within them, from their mitzad atz, from the yonim of the nefesh habahamis and the world itself. Ulahoisif. And to add to this, Hashleim is the Sholem, the wholesomeness, the completeness of Sholem. Because we say Sholem means peace, but Sholem also means wholesomeness. Sholem gam mil l'shoin shlemis. Sholem also from the language of wholesomeness. Hu kisha Sholem shebechol echad dishnei ha'efanim, is when the sholem in each one of these ways, memata l'maylo, is when is it open koilel shtei hamaylos, that in each one of these ways we can have, including both advantages, the advantage that comes milmaylo lemato and milmato l'maylo, so that in milmato l'maylo you have also the advantage of milmaylo lemato, and in milmaylo lemato you have also the advantage of milmato l'maylo, as he explains. Shegam also in the sorting out, which comes from below to above, yesh me'ein ha'inyan the ishapcha, you have similar to the idea of ishapcha. There's no ishapcha there. Ishapcha is milmayla lamatum. but you have me'ain, and also in the sorting out which comes from above to below, yesh me'ein ha'mayla, there should be some of the mayla she'habirur hu mitzad inyoni da'hatachten, that the sorting out is because of the inyan of the tacht. Zeu podo b'sholem nafshi mikrovli. And this is also what we say, podo b'sholem nafshi mikrovli. So normally this means no mayla lamato. So podo b'sholem nafshi, through a peaceful way, no mayla lamato, not through war, not through islapshus, but b'derech gilu yoir. But here we're saying no. Podo b'sholem nafshi mikrovli shegama inyan the podo b'sholem. Even this concept that a redemption which is done in a peaceful way. Shu b'derech klal ha'pedia, the nefesh halikis ma'agolus, the nefesh abamis, which generally talks about the redemption of the godly soul from the exile of the nefesh abamis, that it pulls it down. That's the podo b'sholem, through a revelation of light. Tia boy hamayla sholem should also have the advantage, the mikrovli, that it should also be mikrovli from closeness, krov meloshin kiruv. Krovli, as we said, the language of closeness, habirud nefesh habamis atzma, that within it, in the Pediya B'Sholem, there should be mikrovli, that it should have somewhat of me'ain, of the bitter of nefesh habamis itself, which is mainly milmat l'mayla. But we're saying also in milmayla there should be somewhat of that bitter. That should be the krovli. And the same thing on the other hand, the other way. Shegam habiru shebederech krov milchama, that also the bitter which is in a way of a war, which is milchama, the podo b'sholem is hapcha, that should also contain in it, in mikrovli, podo b'sholem also have these hapcha, which is accomplished in umayla lamatu. And the pasuk continues, because rabim hoyu imodi, but rabim hoyu imodi, as we said earlier, this is the level of yichida. Who tam, this becomes the reason, key. That's why key is a reason. Al podo b'sholem nafshi mikrovli, how you can accomplish that the pediya b'sholem, to have these both milas mikrovli, al yidei his boinenus b'inyan hayichida, through reflecting in the aspect of the yichida of the soul. That way it arouses by the person the level of bittul, which means that's a preparation. You start b'rabim hoyu modi hainu shegam lifnei ha'avodah de podo b'sholem nafshi mikrovli. Before we started the avodah of podo b'sholem nafshi mikrovli, the tzorich adayin livdois nafshe halikis mahamilchomes the nefesh habamis. We still need to redeem the godly soul. There's wars of the nefesh habamis. That's before we accomplishments. We're still in the wars. He is aroused with a general negation, subjugation to godliness. That's a general bittul. And that comes from the level of yichida. Through that general introduction, habirur the nefesh habahamis ubeoifen the podim b'sholem nafshi mikravli. Then, how do we sort out nefesh habahamis? It becomes podim b'sholem nafshi mikravli, which means that shebechol echad ishnei efanei habirur, that through each one of these types of birur, whether it's a birur milmailo lamato or it's a birur milmato lamailo, yeshnam shtei amailos, you have both amailos. So in the birur milmailo lamato, you have me'ain from the level of milmato lamailo, and the birur milmato lamailo, you have me'ain milmato lamato, as explained in this matter. Okay.